Hi, I'm Billy Harper. I'm the animation director at Sucker Punch, and sitting here today talking to everybody about Festival of Blood, which is a standalone Infamous game that we have that you can download on PSN for $9.99. And just want to talk about how we got into thinking about this. You know, for us, it's a DLC. It's first time doing this sort of thing, and we really wanted to kind of make it something unique. We wanted to keep up with the production quality that we had on everything like that, but at the same time, we were trying to think about what would be a good time for us to put this out. And for us, the idea of doing something that was Halloween themed just made sense. So we knew we wanted to do something like that, but then for us, one area that really started to click was when we started to think about, hey, let's take a character for us that everybody really enjoyed. Has enjoyed from Infamous Universe, Zeke Dunbar, and let's let him tell a narrative. And for us, that's one of those things where right away you just kind of set the standard that, hey, this is something that is standalone in and of itself, and this is ultimately what we end up coming up with is the idea that this is Zeke just trying to pick up a girl at a bar, and the one way that he can really hold her interest is to name drop Cole McGrath and spin this huge yarn about how he was bitten by a vampire one day right before it starts getting nighttime, and they're having this festival, and he only has one night to kill her, and if he doesn't, he's going to be under her control for the rest of his life, which is something that Cole just can't stand. So from that point, it just really took on a life. Because we started thinking, what type of powers would Zeke give Cole? What type of enemies would Zeke make up? How crazy would he go with it? How apeshit would he go with it? And everything just kind of flowed from there. So for us, one of the main things, this is what was so exciting for us, was it was something where the narrative really kind of helped the game come to life. Okay, so one of the big things that we really wanted to play up on was the fact that a player is controlling Cole. Cole likes to be in control. That's one of those things. And so we decided to go at it head on and say, you know what, let's get rid of karma. Let's get rid of the choice that you have in the matter. Let's really go full on, make this an evil experience. Where not just the player doesn't have the ability to make the decisions, Cole doesn't either. Right now, this is a case where this is full-on instinct of just taking over with him, and he attacks this innocent person. We right away set up this whole thing that, all right, you're not in control anymore, Cole's not in control anymore, and the further you get into this, the closer you get to sunrise, the less control you're going to have, and Cole is losing that type of control, which is something he can't stand. So right now, that's kind of like the way that we got into it from the story standpoint. Then the other way we really wanted to look at was how is it that we're going to make this in a standalone experience something where we give you unique powers that are based off of the vampire theme and everything. And one thing we wanted to do is we wanted to have it to where we took our big ionic powers that we had throughout the Infamous universe and put a vampire spin on them. One of the big ones that just made sense was something that we wanted to do for the longest time, is give you this power called Shadow Swarm, which you can materialize into bats and actually fly. And that was a big one for us. It's like, you always talk about what type of powers you want to have and everything, and flight's a big one. And this time we decided to go for it. However, there's a hitch. And it's another one of those things where it's like you don't really have the choice of being the good guy here. If you want to fly, you have to actually drink blood. We have this new thing up here, which is what we call the corruption meter. You have the heart, and right now you got this thing right there. It's empty. There's nothing in it. If I try to fly like they just showed me, I can't fly. What I got to do is I got to go up and I actually have to actively bite and drain someone of their blood, and it fills up the meter. Now, once the meter is full, now you can go through, and you see this is Mary coming in and saying, this is what you got to do. You've got to embrace this. I'm going to show you how cool it is, but here's what you've got to do if you want to do it. And so now I've got the blood meter full, I can go and I can fly as much as I want until the meter falls out. Drops all the way down. So that's one of those areas just right away that we kind of set that tone. I go through, drain some more people. Biting people was another one of those things where it's like initially we weren't, we didn't know how satisfying and cool it was going to be for a gameplay standpoint to go around and bite people. So initially it was one of those things where we just did like one time you go and it's the same thing that you do, it's a specific action. But then it became so cool to do it. We have it to where we have lots of these little hands-off moments each time you do this where it's like I'm quickly draining people in different ways. So now you're just really starting to get into it, dragging a guy down and biting him. So now we kind of hit on like the swarm and everything like that. We hit on the fact that you are going around, you're draining people, you're biting people. Another thing I want to point out is what we did with New Marais itself. Getting into the whole thing, we really wanted to say, hey, it's Halloween themed, we're dressing up. What if we dressed up the city? And we wanted to give the city a completely new look. And that's what we did. Our environment team went in and did a great job just hitting on the whole Pyre Night theme. We got fires, we've got effigies, where we've got these homemade demons strung up, and we've got fires underneath them. We got all these banners about Pyre Night, and we've got Pyre dogs. Come on, you've got to have hot dogs that are Pyre Night themed. You got porta potties. Of course, any sort of festival or party, you're going to have porta potties. We got barbecue. We got people that are going around and shooting fireworks into the air. A lot of people wearing these little costumes and everything. We actually have vendors that they have set up throughout the world. Let me fly around to a different area here. We got these big balloons that are spread out all over the place that are big demons. And that's throughout the entire world. Now I can go over here and I can buy myself my own Pyre Night memorabilia. So we've got that strewn throughout the world to give it like this new look and a different feel. Now we kind of show you the new face of New Marais and Cole and his powers. We want to show some of a pair of new enemies that we bring up in the game. One thing we really wanted to do, we wanted to make it to where you felt like anybody that's in this world could be a vampire, could be a threat to you. We want you to all of a sudden not feel safe just walking around the city. So we did two things. We had it to where there's peds that can turn into these firstborn bat-like creatures, and then they can bite any ped, and that person can come and attack you. And you have to fight them off. You can fight them with your melee powers, and then you also can fight the new firstborn. So all this gets back into more of his powers based.
You want the barbed cross? Then open your eyes as a vampire. See only as we can. Embrace the hidden.
Now the big thing with this guy, if you take a look at him, is we wanted to really open up and give him different types of powers. In this particular case, he has the sonic power. He can sling razor bats at you. He can teleport around throughout the world, and come after you. And in this particular case, it's one of those areas where you really show off the fact that you have powers, and you can actually take on somebody like this, which would usually be the higher up on the food chain type of guy. And at the very end of that, I did something which is another neat addition that we have, which is the ability to stake vampires and bad guys, which is another one of those things that's just like it's really satisfying to go around. It's something you can do with any vampire that you have. You notice that we now have a new weapon that Cole has, which is something that he basically just kind of comes up with on his own, because when the vampires initially take him and turn him into a vampire, they take away his amp. So now he's got something that will kind of conduct his electricity, but at the same point he's got some wood there and he can stake these guys. So another awesome power that we wanted to introduce is the ability for Cole to actually open his eyes to the vampire world and see what vampires can see, which actually gives him an advantage that the normal person wouldn't have. And you saw where it's one of those things where we introduce the element of they can hide among us. And this gives you the upper hand. You can actually see who's hiding amongst you because you use your vampire vision. I go in here and I see all these people, but the one without a heart is a guy that's actually a hidden vampire, and I can go in and stake him, and it's kind of like a stealth kill that you get. Because I came up to him, he had no idea I was there, and I could stake him without knowing. Yeah. Plus also at the same time, it gave us this other thing, this other mechanic that we could play around with, which is up until that point, you're just going around and you're biting people all over the place. But now, all of a sudden, if you go up to one of these guys and he's a hidden firstborn and you bite him, he actually fights back, and you got a lot more on your hands than what you wanted to deal with. So now it's the sort of thing where you go through and you can use your vampire vision to find these guys ahead of time and you can fight them. The other area that you can use the vampire vision in is being able to see where a vampire may have gone in the past and track them down. That's what I'm using here, which brings me up to another set of enemies that we wanted to bring in this time around, which are the harpies. The harpies, as you can see, are enemies that actually will parkour throughout the world. That's another area that we really wanted, we've kind of wanted to toy around with, but we haven't in the past. And that is to give our enemies the ability to parkour throughout the world, which gives you this sense of going vertical and horizontal. You're not shooting around on the ground the entire time. And so these guys will actually cling onto walls and hang upside down. And then of course, once you finish them off, you get to stake them. Which again is another one of those things that's just super cool to do. Okay, so we already went over how we gave you a different side of Numeray that you could see. It's basically a dressed up Numeray, but we wanted to go even further than that. And we wanted to give you a whole new area within Numeray that's your playground. And so one of the things that we figured was really, really cool within the vampire world and within Numeray is the idea of having these catacombs and these tunnels that are underground. That's a lot more, we get into a lot of the mechanics of like the sewer and playing underground. You're in this new area that's cool to mess around with. So right here, what we can do is you have the ability to enter the catacombs, go underneath Numeray, and explore new areas. So this is an area that we exposed to you very early in the game, right at the very beginning of the games, the catacombs that you can go through and explore. But right now, another area that I'm showing you is how even once you explore the catacombs and you think you've done everything you can under the catacombs, we've added even more to it. Once you get this vampire vision, you actually have the ability to see these hidden doors within the catacombs, which exposes even more of the narrative, more of the plot that Bloody Mary and the rest of her vampire minions are trying to spring on Pyronite.
Hey, so they put in some sort of dumb waiver. There's a propane tank in it. It says wipe it out or something.
So now I can go throughout the catacombs, which at this point in time I've gone through and I've had some gameplay, but now I can zip around and I can use my vampire vision to actually take a look at these hidden glyphs on walls that you couldn't see before that would direct you towards hidden vampire areas and stuff like that. So you get another level of exploration that opens up. Another area that you can use your vampire vision for is the ability to see interactive glyphs that are on the wall that opens up backstory to Mary and giving you more about who she is, what she's doing, what type of person she is, and exposes the narrative. Infamous Festival of Blood comes out October 25th. It's available on PSN. You can download it and get right to it and start staking bad guys.